Hello. Hi. This is so amazing. I have my mom on this episode today. Yay! This episode is really long awaited. We've probably been planning it for like trying to sit down to record for what, like a month,
At least
maybe?
at least maybe 2.
Yeah, but we keep getting life keeps happening, which is okay. I think that for whatever reason this episode was supposed to happen today. So we're just gonna roll with it and I'm okay with that. But yeah, this is my mom. I'm so
Hello.
happy that she's on the episode. My mom is thebomb.com. I rave about my parents all the time, but I'm really excited for you guys to be able to soak up her wisdom and connect with her in the ways that I do. And I think you're gonna see through this conversation that she is so abundantly inspiring, and specifically in this conversation of trying new things, of overcoming fears, of gaining courage, of gaining life experience and exposing yourself to hard things is really gonna, shine through in this conversation. I'm really excited. But I wanted to start, Mom, if you want to just like give a little bit about yourself, just so that the listeners can kind of understand, who you are. I've obviously spoken about you before, but if this is somebody's first time, or just giving the listeners a chance to get to know you a little bit before we really get into it.
Okay, so hello everybody, and this is a real honor, and I'm very intimidated right now, and I'll try not to be. But how do you
There's
beat
no
that
reason, only like 10
introduction?
people will listen.
I was like, how do you beat that introduction? I'm Jane Moore. I was born Jane Weaver, so I come from Wolverhampton, England, and I've lived in the States for 32 years now. And I was educated in England, and a lot of my inspiration and a lot of my thoughts come from my background of growing up with such wonderful parents myself and wonderful grandparents
Yeah.
who are overachievers. And that's me. And I have 4 beautiful kids, and they inspire me every day. And I try new things because I want to stay around.
Yes, exactly, and we want her to stay around. So we're going to get into all of that, but the reason why I thought this conversation would be perfect for you to have with me is because Rudy's behind me, my brother's dog. So cute, love him. Also on Instagram, if you look at my Instagram stories, I have a highlights called Silly Rudy and he's hilarious on there. So anyway, the reason why I wanted to have this conversation is because this topic, why you shouldn't just stick to what you're good at, is because at 60 years old, you have learned and taken on so many new things. Like you're learning how to ride a horse, you're learning how to play the electric guitar. Like your green thumb, I would say you have probably the most plants that you have ever had, probably in this stage of your life. You know what I mean? Like you've taken on so many things, you've birthed it and grown so many new things. And I just want to start by talking about that. Why did you decide to start learning the guitar when you were 60 years old? Like, why even bother?
Well, a couple of reasons. All my life, I grew up around a lot of musicians and a lot of artists, and I always wanted to play the guitar. And when you're younger, people say things like, oh, well, that's a waste of time, or why are you doing that? Which is a belief that I try to get rid of and try to install in all of my kids, you especially, is if you feel you can do something, go for it. And I always tell you, and I'm like, I always wanted to play the guitar, and I can afford one now. I have the time now. And it's also really good for those neural networks. I mean, my mother had dementia. I don't want to get dementia. I want to keep learning, and learning
Mhm.
music is a really good thing. And I love the guitar. And so everybody told me, oh, you can't play the guitar. You didn't grow up playing the guitar. But I played the violin for like 7 years. Wasn't very good at it. Way better at the guitar. It was time. It was time. And I love it. It makes me happy, and it raises my vibration. And I'm
Mhm.
playing songs that I always wanted to play for me. I don't want to go
Yeah.
perform on a stage. I don't want to perform anywhere else. But for me, it gives me immense happiness.
And that's a really interesting thing because we were talking about this earlier in preparation for this episode, where I was saying that in this day and age, you can take anything that you do in your personal sphere and record it and put it online for hundreds to thousands to millions of people to see. And there is such a pressure to get good at things, to share them publicly. And I think it's really interesting how the main joy that you are deriving from playing the guitar, for example, is solely for yourself. I mean,
Self
you play for us
gratification.
sometimes. Yeah, and like,
Yeah.
can you speak more to that self gratification? Because
Well,
I feel like, especially as a young person, and we were saying this earlier too, is like you want everybody else has so much more life experience than you, so you constantly want the approval of others, and especially older people, like bosses, managers, teachers, mentors, etc. Like you know what I mean? You want someone who's older to look at you and say you're doing good, you're on the right path, your timing is good, you're not taking too long, etc. And I just think like why what is that self-gratification when there is no one else around you to give it and it's just coming from yourself?
Well, I think you're told all your life, oh, do what you feel is right, use your intuition. I've always thought I've had good intuition, but when I've gone to do things, I've had older people or what I thought were wiser people come to find out as I grew up as an adult. Not all adults are wise. Not all
Mhm.
adults know what they're telling you. And so one of the things I wanted to install in my kids were when you get older and the older people tell you things, look at what they've achieved or look where they've gone and look if they know what they're talking about. And society expects you to look to other people all the time. And I think that you should always learn and always grow. And I had a professor that when I started university and I was like, oh, I'm at university now, I'm doing good. And the professor said, if we do our job, when you leave, you'll know there's a whole vast world out there that you just
Mhm.
don't know and you can always learn. And then we've done our job. If you go thinking you know everything, you can't. So, like, I want to learn guitar. I've gone to lessons where I've had somebody go, like, no. And then I get intimidated and I stop. And I
And you
was
shut
like,
down.
you know
Yeah.
what? I'm shutting down and I can learn this. I know I'm smart. I know I can learn it. I watch people play guitar all the time that I've said, hey, I know that in school they didn't do so well. So why can't I learn it? And I'm not putting them down by any stretch of imagination. They have their own skills. But what happened to me is I was like, you're smart enough. You can learn it, but learn it at your pace without the pressure. And I started learning it. And the
Mhm.
guitar is just one of the manifestations. Learning to ride a horse. I always went and I always mucked out horses, but I wanted to ride one. And people were like, yeah, but you didn't grow up riding horses. Well,
Mhm.
guess what? I ride a
Yeah.
horse now because I can.
Yeah.
And I want to learn. And I do it at my pace. And
Mhm.
that's one of the things that the self gratification. When I get up in the morning, I do my run. I come back in here and then I play the guitar for half an hour. And sometimes I can play it well and sometimes I play it terrible. I'm not doing it for anybody else but me. But when I finish and I get ready for work, I'm singing on the way to work. I'm as happy as can be. My vibration is raised and my neural
Yeah.
networks are moving and I'm much more productive at work.
Yeah. And that what you said about you're playing it for you're sitting down to play and it's sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, like quote unquote to your standards. It's almost sounds like the point is not whether how good or bad you're playing, it's the point that you just came to do this thing. Like it almost sounds like your system is happy because you tried something you love, even if it sounded like cats scratching on a board. It's just like at least
Well,
I did something
it's
I loved for me.
it's learning and growing and like sometimes I play and it's awful and I really can't play in front of people. I played in front of you guys a little bit, but I totally fluff it up and like I'm like I can really riff that, but I can't riff it in front of you guys because then I'm trying to do it for you instead of me. But when it's just me,
Mhm.
my Paddington Bear, my two dogs, I can just play all day long and that's all I gotta do because I'm just trying to keep learning new things to keep my brain working and
Yeah.
all those branches working and I need those branches to work. I don't want to be sitting here and just becoming like dementia or as
I
you get
know,
older
yeah.
all the illnesses.
Memory
I don't want
loss
that.
does run on both sides of our family, so
Yeah.
love that for me.
Yes.
So instruments and things like that do
Reading.
activate both sides of your
Mhm.
brain, which is really good for throughout the years as you get older, especially learning other languages, things like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
But I wanted to first of all, the patenting bear comment is because for anybody who doesn't have a visual component, there's a my mom loves Paddington Bear because she's British and it's just very British of her. But there is a Paddington Bear right behind her, and that's the only thing in frame, and it's so cute. But any anyway, um, how do you learn your pace? You said I wanted to play the guitar, for example, or I wanted to learn the horse, and they were will learn how to ride a horse, and people were saying, "Well, no, you can't do that. Either your age or." I remember earlier you told me that you had a boyfriend that said girls don't play the guitar, like they're not guitar
Yes.
players, like
Yeah.
so you shied away from it. You just were like,
And
"Oh,
he was in
okay,
a
well that must
band.
be right."
He was in a band. And I said, oh, I could play the guitar with you in the band. Probably didn't want me around. I don't know. But he was like, oh, girls don't play the guitar. Girls don't sing. This is like, it's boy bands. It's this. And then I had another person. I was like, I wanted to learn to ride horses. And they're like, you don't have the money. You don't come from that
Mhm.
background.
Yeah.
And I let people tell me what I couldn't do. And
Yeah.
something is very freeing when you get to this age. It's like, hey, I got less years ahead of me that I have behind me. Hopefully, I have a little few more years, but I have
40 more years,
is about,
hopefully.
hopefully I'll be 102 then. But
Yeah.
I now I'm not letting anybody stop me do what I want to do. If I'm not hurting somebody, we should be here to make everyone's life better. But if you don't feel
Yeah.
good about your own life, how can you make someone else's life better? And
Yeah.
so I'm not letting people tell me I can't do something. My dad said
Hmm.
to me many years ago, when I say I can't do that, he goes, can't should not even be in your lexicon. And that's one
Hmm.
thing that my dad gave me. And my mom, she was always, your grandma, your nanny, she was always like, oh, Jane, you can do anything. And that was a pressure
Hmm.
too. You know, it was like, oh, so I don't want
Mm.
to try something and fail because my mom will be disappointed. God bless you.
Yeah.
My mom
Thank
will be
you.
disappointed. And then I realized she just wanted me to experience life. And the
Yeah.
more you try, like I love traveling. I'm not very good at cooking. I'm going to go to cooking classes. I learning a new language. It's the zest for life. Don't stagnate. Don't stagnate.
Yes.
You know.
And I think that learning your pace is something that you gain with life and experience because it's like the only way you can. And I think that for someone who's on like the younger spectrum of life, like the first quarter of life, I'm 25, so the
Mm-hmm.
first quarter of life, and it's like Elizabeth Gilbert talks about this when she talks about her creative process of learning what her specific creative process is. Elizabeth Gilbert is the author of Big Magic and Eat Pray Love,
Yes.
and she talks about how she had to understand that even her ebbs were a part of her process.
Exactly.
Like when she creates something and then there's like that like love for it, it's like, oh my God, this creative thing that is just gonna, like, it's changing my world and I can't wait to put it into the world. And then like the more you work on it, you're like, this is actually shit. I hate this. I don't want to keep doing this. I just cursed in front of my mom. That feels so weird. But it's like this is like there's like that dip of like, I'm not good enough, this isn't good, people aren't gonna like this. And like she was saying that dip is part of her process. Like it's part of her pace. But I think that without the life experience, that when you go into that dip, it's easy to stay there and say, okay, well, that's actually just not for me. Because I remember you saying that you wanted to play the guitar, and I know that we won't harp on the guitar only because there's so many things that you have tried in the next portion of your life. But like having a boyfriend who's saying, women don't play the guitar, which for historical context, like in that time, boy bands, boy singers, all of those were so big. But
Mm-hmm.
Stevie Nicks and Blondie and like all those
Exactly.
women who came up, they weren't
Pat
Madonna, like
Benatar.
they hadn't
Yes.
come just yet. Like
Mm-hmm.
that was a new thing for women to be taking center stage like that.
Yeah.
And especially in independent in rock fields and stuff like that. But so I can see why he said that. I don't agree with it at all, but I see, like, we had the Rolling Stones and we had the Who and we had
Eric
the Beatles
Clapton.
and we had, what I mean? Like there were Elton John, there were so many male forward artists. So I can imagine that if you tried to play the guitar and then you're like, it actually doesn't sound good. And then you're like in that dip. And then you're like, oh, well, actually, you hear that voice come in from whoever the voice is. In this instance, it's the ex-boyfriend or the boyfriend that was like, women don't play the guitar. And it's like you're in
Yes.
that dip. And instead of being able to learn your full pace, that the dip is part of the expansion, you stop in the
You
dip
stop.
and you don't
Yes.
try. You
Well,
don't try new
I
things.
think when you're 18, between 18 to 25, you're seeking approval from everybody. You're trying to
Yeah.
find your voice, and your peers really do make a difference. So it's really important who you have in your life. And if you don't have a cheerleader in your life, then they need to be not in your life. I ran my first 8K a month before
I
I turned
forgot about
60.
that. You trained for an
I
8K
trained
when
for
you
an
turned
8K when I
60.
turned 60. And I used to run with my cousin Julia many, many years ago when we were 18, and I could run 10 paces and I'd stop and walk the rest, and she would run the whole thing, and I could never do it. I just didn't have the stamina, and I just couldn't do it. And then one of the guys I work with, he sets up these 8K charity runs and these
Mm-hmm.
Osprey Trail runs, and he said, do it. And I was like, well, I'm going to do it. So I
Yeah.
trained for it and I ran. And I want to tell you the most beautiful story about it is I almost didn't go that day. I was so
Mm-hmm.
scared. I got up at 5 a.m. and Dad was going to take me. And I went to run and I was like, oh my gosh, you've got all these marathon runners and you've got all these
Yeah.
Amazons and they're all
Like
running.
actual
And they've
runner.
run
Yeah.
for years, like they do crazy things, like they run the Blue Ridge Mountains and they run all these things 32 miles here and there and everywhere. And I was like, I'm not going to do it. And then I was like, if you don't, you're going to be disappointed in yourself. No
Mm-hmm.
one else is expecting you to do it. In fact, my husband was like, why are we doing this on a Saturday or Sunday morning, whatever it was, at 4 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
getting up and going? And it was the greatest feeling in the world when I finished it. And now I think I could finish it way faster. And I
Mhm.
was running until I got bronchopneumonia just recently, so I've stopped running now, but I'm going to get back to it. And I intend to do a better time next time. And it was a
Yeah.
challenge. It was something I wanted to achieve. And I'm
Yeah.
so proud I did it.
And I have to say, I have to emphasize that you said it was the greatest feeling in the world when you finished, but it wasn't the greatest feeling because you won, because you didn't
Oh
win.
no, I was
I
like,
don't even
I
think
was
you
like,
came even probably
but it's close
close
to winning.
to.
I don't know these people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like number
Yeah.
60 or whatever. I don't care, but I'm 60 is 60, and I ran. I actually beat quite a
Yeah.
few people, but I was really like I was
And
down
that's
there.
your pace. You
Yes,
know what I
my
mean? Like
pace.
that's your
I had to
pace. And
finish.
yeah, and I think like honestly, I think that learning new things claims the spontaneity and the charm of your life. Like you make your life charming and you make it spontaneous when you say yes to these things. Like when you
Yes,
do try new things, you give it richness, and also novelty's engagement with the brain, and how focus and your dopamine kind of increases when you try something new because it's
but
exciting.
you're so much more productive too because your brain is firing. If you're not stagnating, you're learning. If you're learning, you're progressing and you're growing,
Yeah.
and you're never too old to grow. Like
Yeah.
there's some things I've learned. Like there's one thing that I like about America that is very different in England. Like there was a lot of people like, oh, you just don't do that, or you just can't do that.
Right.
But why?
Tradition.
But why?
Yeah.
But why can't
Mhm.
we do that? And then sometimes my mom goes, oh, Jane always wanted to break the boundaries somewhere. No, all I did was like, I moved to America. I didn't like solve, I wish I had cured cancer or something like that, but I wanted to try outside my bounds. What was across the road? I always wanted to see what was across the road. And
Mhm.
my world was very tiny. And I can remember your granddad saying to me when I was moving to America, he was so scared. When I was visiting America, I'm going to visit America. He's like, you can't do that. I'm like, why not? And he goes, you can't go there. I mean, nobody's there to protect you. What if you fall on hard times? Which incidentally I did, but you know what? I made it. And
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
didn't want me to go. And then one day he said to me, you know, Jane, I was wrong trying to stop you. Your world is getting bigger and mine's getting smaller. And I was scared and I wanted you somewhere where I could protect you. But I'm not going to be here all your life, which incidentally he died a few years later. And he's like, I
Mhm.
have to give you the strength to survive, and going gave you the strength to survive. And
Yeah.
if you don't try those new branches, look at my life here. I have a wonderful marriage, 4 beautiful kids, a successful business, and I play a lot. I like playing.
Mhm.
It's
You
fun.
do play a lot.
I do
And
play
I
a lot.
love that.
I do.
I love that.
I
Yeah,
like
and
playing.
playing is how we learn new things.
Yes.
Like for children,
Yes.
children learn through play.
They
They
do.
learn
They do.
like when children go to school and they're like, and I'm talking young, like I'm talking like 4,
Mhm.
5, 6 years old, like, and they're like making their little macaroni snowman, and they're making their like this play. It feels like play, like they're just taking home arts and crafts every day, but they're learning. So they're learning dexterity, they're learning their gross motor skills,
Exactly.
they're learning how to share with other kids when they need the glue stick and the other kid needs it. Like they're learning to communicate and ask for what they want. Like we learn through play. And
Yes.
not everything that we do has to look like the conventional way of something that is
Exactly.
something you work hard for. Does that make
Exactly.
sense?
Exactly. Like for all the people that ran that race, they wanted to be first, second, or third. I just wanted to finish. And I
Mhm.
finished. And I did it in, well, I thought a pretty good time for a 60-year-old. But the first run I ever did. But like the people that were at the top with all the medals and everything, I didn't need that. I was on
Yeah.
such a high myself, but also with other stuff too. Like if you're learning something and it doesn't feel good, walk away. Don't give
Mhm.
up. I'm not telling you to
What
give
is
up,
it?
but there can be times where if you're hitting a wall and you're hitting the wall and you're hitting the wall, then you're not getting pleasure. You're doing it for pleasure. We're on this going around this sun for a little bit. We might as well have fun while we're doing it. So
Mhm. Yeah.
try it, and if it doesn't work, move on. I think
And are
I'm
you
going to do.
saying,
Go on.
sorry.
I was going to say, I think I'm going to do the same thing with the piano. I have the piano now, and I'm going to get that done. That's my goal for
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah, you're gonna
Hmm.
try the piano. And
Yep.
okay, so you're saying that when you try something and then it doesn't feel good, to let yourself move on. Are you saying like to let yourself move on like in the day? Like it's like, okay, you know what,
Yes.
that didn't feel good
Don't
today.
quit.
Keep going. But okay, yes. Okay, so
Don't
take
quit.
breaks.
Take breaks. Like, you know, I'm in education and I teach, and sometimes when I'm teaching someone, like I just learned programming. I did C++ programming. I didn't learn that. They told me I was hopeless at math when I was at school. I was the English art person and math wasn't my
Same.
thing. And now I love math. I understand that design is basically mathematical. If you study Adobe, you realize that design is mathematical and it's all a science. And I just wasn't ready to receive that at that time in my life. And then I had teachers that told me, I mean, I think the best, most freeing thing that ever happened to me, to be honest, is my sister was very, very clever. And I was always, oh, Jane's going to be the cute, artsy one. And they just kept dismissing me. And so I didn't have to raise to the standard. So I had no pressure and I did better because of it. In some ways, that can be negative, but it made me realize that, like, I can remember a teacher telling my mom and dad, oh, she won't go very far. She'll move down the street and that'll be the end of it. And now I hear people that said, my gosh, what did you do? Like, your whole life is different. And it's because it was freeing. I didn't have to prove anything. Nobody expected anything of me. So it was like,
It was
okay.
almost like because they thought so little of what you would achieve, it just gave
I,
you room to like go ahead and
I
try
didn't I
anyway
didn't
because
have
you're
to
like, you're not
care.
watching.
I was like, they're not going to
Yeah,
approve of me no matter what I do. So I didn't have that boundary, and that's very freeing to have not have
that is
that
freeing.
boundary, you know. And I see that
Yeah.
in
And
education today, where they put people in boxes. You shouldn't. People learn at different ages. Everybody
mhm,
learns at different ages, and the more you grow, the more wisdom you get. But you got to get rid
mhm.
of some of the hang-ups too.
Exactly. Yeah. And we talk about this. I talk about this all the time on my podcast, but how practicing a skill, whether it's mental, mainly mental, physical, emotional, etc., in one part of your life ripples into other areas of your life. And you
Yes,
end up building this like inner evidence that can handle uncertainty and that can
yes.
handle that, and it sounds like that's what you were doing. And it sounds like that, like you did, I don't know which came first, the guitar, the running, or the
The
horse,
running
but
came
I think the
first. Yeah.
horse came first, but
Did the horse come first? Yes.
the
The
running
horse,
came
then the
first.
running.
Okay.
I can't remember.
Because there was a flip. There was a change,
It
and
was
I
the
think that
horse.
the
It was the
change
horse
was
first.
and you saw that you could try this new thing even at an age that people would say, "Oh my gosh, like that, you shouldn't be riding a horse for the first time at 60 or
Yes.
running a 5K for the first time at 60." Like, you know what I mean? But because you were starting to form that like pushing the edge, pushing the
Yes.
boundary, pushing the comfort zone,
Hmm.
in one area, you were like, well, why can't I do it in this other area too? And I think
It's
that's what we
freeing.
find with
Yeah.
oppression. Like when we oppress groups, it's like we have to make them feel as oppressed as possible so that they don't see that there's hope in other areas, if
Well,
that makes
I
sense.
think there's a famous experiment, and I'm probably going to quote it wrong, but there's an experiment where they had some kids in school and they told them that kid can't do this and that person can't do that. And the other one, you're the greatest and you excel. And they were doing
Hmm.
great and the other kids weren't excelling. And it was like prejudice was put onto it. I'm not just talking about color, I'm talking about class, I'm talking about gender. There was all sorts of things, but oh, you don't do that, and so you had to fit
Hmm.
into this, and it just didn't grow because you were told it didn't
Because you were
grow.
because you yeah because
You were
it
conditioned,
hmm
and so you
and
had
that's the same.
go on.
You go. I cut you off.
So what you have to do is you have to say, I don't believe that. I'm not trying to be in your face, but I believe I have the ability to do that. And if you believe in yourself,
Hmm.
and then some things you do, you fail, and then you're like, okay,
Hmm.
maybe that's just not for me. But at the same time, don't just quit because practice. You have to practice everything. If you don't put the work in, it's not going to come out. And so you do have
Yeah.
to put the work in. You know what I'm
Yeah, you
saying? It sounds
do.
like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, but if you don't put the work in, it's not going to work. It's not going to grow.
Hmm.
And it's like a
Yeah.
flower. It's like a plant. If you water a plant, it will grow. If you talk,
Hmm.
I talk to my plants. Look at them. Look at them.
I
They
was
like
just about to say there was actually a study conducted that how you speak to your plants can also influence how they grow. And it was something like plants that were in the same condition and they were experiencing the same level of sunlight and the same level of water and the same potting soil, but one of them was being like degraded. Like one of like the
yes.
human was going to it as it watered it was just not giving it attention, not really engaging
Hmm.
with it, doing the necessary things, but that was kind of it. And also speaking poorly to it, like
Yes.
being mean to the plant. And then there was another plant that they were speaking loving words to. You're wonderful, you can grow, you're so good at this, you're so beautiful, you can grow so big. And one of the plants was healthier than the other one. And there's something to be said about that. Like,
Oh, very
you know
much
what I
so.
mean?
Very much so. Yeah, people, and I think it's so much harder for your age group with all the online stuff now, and everybody has an opinion on everything, and it worries me what it's doing to the makeup and mental capacity of young adults right now, because you've got to be this perfect being. And I think when
Mm-hmm.
I had to stop being the perfect being was when I was free. I was like, so
Yeah.
I run, I come last in the race, but I finished it. Okay, I can't jump that really high thing, probably more from age now,
Yeah.
and I don't want to break a bone, but I
Yeah.
enjoy going on the trail with my lovely paint horse that's just a laid back little horse. I love that.
Yeah.
You know,
Bella. Yeah.
I'm not doing it to win the Grand Prix. I'm
An
doing it
award and learn
because
how to jump and
exactly.
stuff. Yeah.
I'm doing it because I feel good. I do it with my husband. We go out. We try different things. We go to a lot of concerts. I love music, as you know, and I
Mm-hmm.
love art and entertainment. But I also enjoy just being with nature and stuff like that. And so you have to say to yourself, I enjoy that. Why am I not doing it? If that's what I
Yes.
enjoy, why am I not doing it? Why am I spending this amount of time doing something I hate? And
Mm-hmm.
it's not worth it.
And I want to clarify the thing we're saying about working hard is because we have this idea that working hard at something has to be like painful and it has to be grit and like a grind. And
Hmm.
like I've seen this quote kind of floating around social media lately that's saying like your ability to do good at something isn't how well you did the thing while sacrificing everything else. It's how
Exactly.
well you did the thing while maintaining your health, like your health,
Yes.
your mental
Yes.
health and your physical health. And like I think that we see that with, the runners. Like
Yes.
there are some runners and we're at the, let's say we're at the 5K and like you're 60 and you're getting ready to run and you're not trying to win, you're just there to finish. And your version of working hard for that looks different than somebody else's version. And just
Hmm.
because your version wasn't waking up at 6 a.m. every day and running a 5K every day and practicing it, like, doesn't mean that you weren't working hard. You were just working hard in another
At
way
my
that was your
pace.
pace.
But I will
And
tell you, and it was an 8K. Believe me, that 8K makes a
oh,
difference from a
okay.
5K, the 8K. But believe me, it's hard fought. But what I will tell you is the encouragement I got from those runners that were at the top
Yeah.
when they were seeing me run, and we were running down. It was a cross country one too. It wasn't an easy road one, which is where I trained, was on an easy road. But
Yeah.
on the cross country run, it was down and there was branches. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to pop my knee or I'm going to do something.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of encouragement I got from those athletes that are real
Mm-hmm.
athletes that were there, they were so encouraging. It was
That's beautiful.
inspiring. And they were like, you got this, you got this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I didn't come anywhere near last, I just want to point out, but I didn't come anywhere near first either. I finished and I finished the race and I was so proud of myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I could walk for a week after. It was like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I'm paying for it
Yeah.
now. But I finished it and I was so happy
It
to
sounds
do it.
like you were so beautifully average,
Yes,
which I
I
would
really
never
was.
use those words together. And my therapist kind of talks to me about this. I'm such an overachiever that like average is
Where do you
like
think you get that from,
unacceptable.
me and dad?
Yeah. Yeah. Average is like unacceptable, but it's like really, I don't know. It's like, it's expanding my mind to think of it as like being so beautifully average. Like looking at overall, yeah, you probably finished in an average sense, like what the
Yes,
average did. You weren't
yeah,
like the best or the worst, just kind of in the
yes,
middle.
yeah.
And that was a huge expansion for you because for your pace, that was a big goal. Like that was a big win. Like that was the best,
It
you
was,
know?
yeah, it was the best. And I also came from a knee injury. So a lot of
Mhm.
people are like, you crazy running right now. You're just going to do. I can remember a doctor saying to me, you should never run. You should never, ever
Mhm.
run. And maybe physically they thought not, but another doctor told me build the casing up around the injury and that'll help you
Mhm.
because I can't get the surgery here because it's so crazy expensive. The healthcare situation in America is a full documentary on its own. But
Yes.
this doctor said to me, no, build the casing up around it. And so I built the casing up around it and I finished the race. And it's like, you
Mhm.
know, 15 years ago, somebody told me you can never be physical again. Well, guess what? I just finished an 8K at the age of 60. So
What if you believed them? What if when you were at your dip, when you were training and you were like, I don't have the energy for this, and you're like, and the doctor told me, like, they know best, you know? But
I'm going to sound like a crazy fool, but the one night I was running and dad drove by and I was running, it was getting dark and he was coming from work and I was running and he was going, go, Jane, go, Jane, go. So I was running up the street and I was like,
he's in his car,
I know that
like,
neighbors think we're crazy right now. But as I was running down the driveway, two deer came out. And instead of them running away, they ran with me. And I was like, I'm Mary Poppins. I'm Snow White. I don't know what I am, but I felt like the deer was telling me, go, Jane, go, go. So
I love
when I
that.
was running down the thing, could see the deer and Dad going, go, Jane, go, as I wanted to give in on the race.
Hmm.
And I was like, I can do
Yeah.
this. I can do this. I
Yeah.
have nature with me. You know, I'm just crazy,
Yeah.
but there you go.
I want to shift the conversation a little bit and talk about timelines and the courage to be a beginner, and how the passing of your best friend really shifted your motivation to try new things in the second half of your life.
One of my greatest inspirations in life was Debbie. I had two very good friends, Debbie Lavender and Jackie McGee. Sadly, Debbie passed away from breast cancer. It was a shock. She had had it 25 years ago. She had got cured, and then it came back, and it unfortunately took her life. And we had planned
And
so
she didn't
many
tell you
things.
guys it came
She didn't
back.
tell me it came back. When I
Yeah.
found out she had died, I was horrified. I didn't even know she had been sick, and that was a whole journey in itself. And I still wonder why she didn't tell me, but I know why she didn't tell me, because my nephew had got leukemia, and I was going, every time I got a call, I was dreading what was happening. So she didn't want to compound, because she was my friend.
Yeah.
But she's the reason I came to America. Me, her, and Jackie McGee were like, we're going to go to America. She always spurned me on. I always spurned her on. We always told each other, and there was so many things. And the reason I got back to guitar is me and her, we used to meet on a Monday night at her house to play guitar to Bruce Springsteen and the old records, Sandy and the 4th of July, and we'd try and play it, and we were abysmal. And then we would go to the gym and work out, and we would come back and eat jacket potatoes with tuna mayonnaise and watch music videos all
Ew.
night and talk about, it was really nice actually. It's an English thing. Potato is an English thing. And we would talk about all the things we were going to try in life, and we encouraged each other. And when she passed, we hadn't finished all the things we'd encouraged.
Mm.
And I was like, I'm not going to go out without trying. What is that saying? I'm going to slide into the grave. And I'm going to say, wow, she lived a life. I intend that to be my life. I do not
Yeah.
intend to be, she wished she would have. I'm not going to do that.
Mm.
I don't want my kids to say they wish they would have. I want you to experience as much as you can, without being crazy. But like, you can't hurt people. You can't, if what you do hurts people, then you're doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But we always had planned all these things when we were going to retire, and then it was gone. And my dad did the same thing. My dad retired and died like less than a year later, and all the things that he planned for retirement, he died. And I'm like, I'm not going out like that. I'm trying it now. I'm living in the present, and I'm more in the present than a lot of people, just because of that experience.
Yeah.
But losing Debbie, and like now trying to stay in touch with their kids, because they've lost their mom
It's
and
a
their
toll.
dad.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a toll. And I need to honor her and honor me and honor our dreams that we had. So that's what I'm doing.
Oh my gosh, that is so
That's making me
beautiful. It makes me a
emotional.
little tiny bit emotional.
It's just like
Yeah. When did Debbie pass away?
oh gosh, now that's a few years ago now. I'm trying
Right?
to
It would have
think.
been like over 2 years ago,
Over
right?
2
Like maybe
years
2
ago,
years
yeah.
ago.
Maybe,
I
yeah.
think that tracking back, I really think that was a big shift for you. Like I
Yes,
really think it was,
it was
because
huge.
you probably started riding a horse within the last 5 years.
Yes,
Definitely the guitar came within the
yes,
last 2 years.
yes. I think it was 2 years
And
ago, yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think so. It wasn't like it was like Debbie passed away and you were like, I'm gonna play the guitar. It was more so like you grieved,
Yes,
like you grieved. You did the whole grieving process, and then it was kind of like the phoenix that you rose to and started to be reborn into. After that was like, I'm gonna do the things that we always wanted to, and I'm gonna let this infuse my personality with lesson and with
exactly.
reason and with purpose.
Yeah.
And you have done that. Like you
Yes,
you actually have.
yes.
And I think
Well,
Debbie would be so proud.
I think too. Also, when somebody passes, you reflect, and we had written to each other when, like, we wrote letters in those days, because we didn't have Facebook,
Mhm.
we didn't have instant text, we didn't have cell phones. I mean, if I could find a phone that worked that I could get to England, I pumped in so many quarters. I'd say hello, it's Jane, and that was the end of it. So we wrote letters, and I have essays of Debbie's life while she was in England, and she has essays of my life while I was in America. And as I was reading them, I was like, I need to get back to some of this. I've lost some of this
Yeah.
and I need to bring it back. And I need to do
Wow.
it for me and to honor her memory, but I need to do it for my children. I need to do it for my life. I need to do it for my husband. I need to do it for the quality of life. And
Mm-hmm.
all these things that I was going to do when I moved here, and the standard of living that it's a Jewel song. It says the standard of living gets stuck on survive. That's a
Mm-hmm.
terrible danger. And you have to
Mm-hmm.
do it because of the, you got 4 kids, you're growing up, you've got to pay your bills, you've got to be able to maintain
You have to be
stability. You
realistic.
have to be
Yeah.
realistic, and there's a lot of stress. And then when you run a business, you got a lot of people whose lives depend on you too. And then you have classes that you're going to go teach, and there's 50 people in there waiting to learn. And if they don't pass it, they lose their job. That's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
stress. And so the standard of living gets set on survive. And you have to say
Mm-hmm.
to yourself, I'm not just surviving, I'm here for a reason. I'm here to make a difference, and I'm here to contribute to society. And I'm not contributing if I'm miserable. So I have to put
Yeah.
some time into me. And at the
Yeah.
same time, without overstepping everyone else,
Yeah.
you can't feel better at the cost of someone else. Then you're not doing your
Right.
job. You're not doing your
Right.
job.
Yes.
And what Debbie always used to say is go for it. And me and her, there was a
Mm-hmm.
song that was a stiff little finger song that was go for it. And me and Jackie McGee went to that. And now we've recently reconnected. And Jackie has moved to England and lives in the Cotswolds. And she's my new bond that we're
Mm-hmm.
regrowing again. And it's been wonderful. It's
Yeah.
like coming home.
Mm-hmm. That's another thing. You and Jackie were lifelong friends, like
Yes, like from the
friends
age of
from like,
3.
yeah,
Yeah.
right? Like a young toddler age to, into adulthood. And
Jackie also suffered severe loss from her sister. Her sister died from breast cancer. And I was like, I'm just getting so tired of grieving. And there was this other person in California who was getting ready to retire, and she had lost her mom and her dad. It's funny, we didn't talk for many years. And then she
mm-hmm.
called me when her father died. And she called me when her father died because Ron McGee was a huge part of my life and a
Yeah.
huge part of her life. I mean, obviously it was her dad, but I mean, I
He
grew
was
up
even a huge part of my
my
dad's
lad's
life.
life.
Like
Yeah,
he
like
was, yeah.
he was like he used to tell everyone that my husband, who incidentally, as obviously as you all know, is black. He was a little short Irish man that was like 5 foot, and he used to tell people that Terence was his illegitimate son. And can you see the likeness? And people would say they could, and there's no likeness because they're not related. But he was a comedian,
They
and he
had a
would be
similar
like,
personality, a
he would
similar
say, "Oh, we
energy.
can tell," and I'd look at him like, "What?" And it was just hysterical. But
Mm-hmm.
basically reconnecting with Jackie and reconnecting with all those years of teenage dreams that we had. Like we would play music and talk about all the things we're going to do and how we're going to travel. Well, we connect about that now and we laugh about it and go, do you remember that? And getting back to nature and seeing the world and seeing all the wonderful things and experiencing the wonderful things. That's why we're here. I never used to
Mm-hmm.
realize that as you're growing up. You're like, no, you must do this and you must do that. And all of a sudden you're like, why?
This idea, the phrase, you knew better or I knew better. But if you actually knew, you would have done better.
Oh,
You would
yes.
have done it.
Oh,
But it's
yes.
like sometimes experience is just the best teacher.
It
Like you
really
have
is.
to learn it for
You do
yourself.
have to, like I've done things in my life where I look back now and go, oh, you should have known better and shouldn't have done that. But that's how you grow. You grow
Yes,
from
it
your
is.
mistakes. You just don't keep making them, but that's how you grow.
Growth is cyclical. It's not
Mm-hmm.
linear. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
straight line. Actually, I saw it drawn out beautifully in a spiral where it
Yeah.
was like instead of growing like in a straight line, like
Yeah.
you grow in a spiral, and let's say there's like a bump at a part in the spiral, but you keep growing, and then when you go around again, you're going to go past the bump again, but
Yeah.
eventually you're
Yeah.
going to outgrow it. But
Yeah.
that's just part of the process as you expand,
Yeah.
that you hit these roadblocks, because when you hit roadblocks, when you try new things, you learn about yourself
So
deeper.
much more. And I'll tell you something, going back to my parents, which I probably do get it from. I went to tap lessons when I was working in England before I moved to America. I would go on a Wednesday night to tap lessons, and my mom came with me. And then they were going to do the certification. And I went and took the certification and passed it, but my mom wouldn't take the certification. I was like so frustrated with it because I was like, you learned it, you did this. And she goes, I didn't learn it to get the certification. That's making me nervous and
Yeah.
stressful. I do it because I like doing tap with my daughter and I enjoy the camaraderie and I enjoy the keep fit, but I'm not doing it to get the certification. And I was so disappointed. I was like, why is my mom not doing it? She's the only one in the class not taking the certification. I get it now. I
Mhm.
get it now. Like,
Yeah.
I really get it. She was
Yeah.
saying, I'm
She
not
was just
doing
moving at
it.
her own
I
pace.
don't
Yeah.
need I don't need
That's not
that
the
piece of
point.
paper. I'm doing that to be with you, to be with my friends, and to keep fit and to enjoy it and dance to the
Yeah.
music. There's no pressure for me. I'm doing it for enjoyment. I'm not doing it to achieve. But like she was
And that
achieving in a way.
Yes, exactly. That is the point. The point is that it's different for everyone. So that
Yes.
wasn't the point to her. The point wasn't to get a certification to gratify the entire experience
Yes.
and say, okay, this was
So
why.
there's
The
my
point
piece of
was,
paper. Yeah.
yeah, the point was I already did it because although I already got the point because I just
Yes.
went with my daughter and I had fun with her and
The
I tried
time.
something and you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? It was just the
Mm-hmm.
time spent. That was her journey with it. But there could have been somebody
Yes.
else in the class who maybe had an injury and wanted to come back from it. And this certification marked, a part of their journey of like,
Yes.
look, I can do this. Like it's
Yes.
different for everyone. And that's why we have the courage to try new things. And that's why you should always find joy in trying new things because there's no joy in just sticking to what you're
No.
good at. I mean, there
No.
is joy. There's joy everywhere, but there's not the same kind of joy.
Yeah,
Like, you know what I mean?
experience. You've got to experience new things. If you experience new things, there's a richness that comes with your life. I've tried some things and I'm no good at them. That's okay. It's not for me. But I
Mhm.
tried it. I I joined an acting class with a girlfriend. When I went out of high school, I didn't go straight to college, which was a big disappointment to my dad. I wanted to go to work. I wanted to make money. And then I was
Mhm.
there. I was like, oh, I can't do this for the rest of my life. I'm going to kill myself if I have to do
Yeah.
this. And I went back, but I went to acting classes and I was terrible at them because I
Mhm.
overacted because I thought you had to. And then I had this teacher that goes, you know what you need to do, Jane? You need to go experience life and come back. And I was
Yeah.
so offended. And then I did experience life. And then I went back to college and I took an acting class there. And when I did my show, everybody was like, that was fantastic.
Sure.
I will say I would never want to do that again, but I did it, and
Yeah.
I conquered it, and I enjoyed it at the time. And I look back at the pictures now and we laugh at them and we look at all those
Yeah.
photos we have, and I look at the talent that you guys have, each of you. I have 4 kids from the same parents, so very different, but all very creative. And I
Mhm.
see where you're going and how you're doing. And like the podcast, even this is you achieving something that you want to do. And I don't care if 1 or 1 million listen to it,
Right.
it's for you. And
It's the fact that I
it's the
even
fact that
tried.
you even try, you just didn't give up. And
Mhm.
like, what do they say? I'm so corny. If at first you don't succeed, try and try again. I think to a point that's really true.
I do think it's true. And this is going to be a later episode down the road, like long down the road probably, but patience and the nerve to see something through. I had the idea for this podcast in probably 2020,
Yes.
maybe 2021.
Yes.
And I started to pursue it like
Yes.
not long after, like fully like buying equipment and
Yes.
studying like researching
Yes.
what podcasting platforms I need and what even that means and what it means to have a hosting platform and all the different ways that you have to promote your podcast on different social media platforms as well.
It's
And like
work.
yeah, there was a lot of curveballs thrown my way in that time.
Yeah.
So many. The podcast was originally supposed to be with another person, there
Yes.
was the fact that I got 3 injuries throughout the process. There
Yes.
was, the fact that I had a significant relationship fall apart and I had to move back home and uproot my life. Like there were just so many things and
Life happened.
life happens,
Yeah.
life, and you always say fate happens to you while you're busy living your life. And
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was exactly true. But it was just like the fact that I had this idea from 4 years ago and I made it happen. Even if only 10 people are listening, it's just the fact that I did it. Like I did
Yes.
just the fact that I
You
decided to press
achieved it.
upload
And you know
and
what?
record.
It's enriching me. I listen to them all the time and I love it. But of course, I'm also biased because I'm your mom. But I I will tell you, like, just the quote that I wanted to give you was John Lennon: "Life is what happens to you while you're
Yes.
busy making other plans." That's life, and you have to go with the flow sometimes.
Yeah.
And things happen to you. Good things happen and bad things happen, and it's how you
Yeah.
deal with them. And that's why you should try new things, because when you're going through trauma with your surgeries, you try new things.
Mm,
What did you learn? While you were going through trauma and you couldn't dance, you learned poetry, and you're a brilliant poet. You're a brilliant writer. I mean, who knew? Who knew that was going to happen?
you're right.
You know what
And
I'm
and
saying?
I wouldn't have because
Yeah,
also the sun came out and it's so
I
bright.
know.
Okay, I'm
So
gonna slide
you
over a
went
little bit.
dark. You went
I
dark,
gotta
then you
slide
went
over.
light. See, Mike
Yeah.
Paddington stayed right where he was. I'm just saying.
Yeah. But yeah, interesting because I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was a child. I don't. Do you get diagnosed? Is that how that works? I
Yeah,
don't know. Anyway,
actually, the
it,
best teacher ever said she's very smart and she's not putting it down on paper. There's something wrong, and she was so right. And once we found that, and you got lessons to over, she said
yeah,
by the
you
time you're
guys put me into
15, you're
special education
yeah,
classes. Yeah,
and they said by the time you're
and
15, no one will know. And there you go. Look at you, FSU,
yeah,
everything.
and you can
Not
tell
too
I'm always
proud.
my mom.
Not
You're
too
just like
proud.
yeah, just constantly plugging all the things. But yeah, that's just what moms do. But yeah, I was, obviously dyslexic. So I mean, I was failing like every spelling test I took from the age of like 7, like just not able to do it. You know what I mean? And I think the teacher said, she said that I wrote down on the page, I don't understand what you're asking me or something.
And
Like I was
we
like,
cried
what did I
because the
say?
frustration. Um, you would talk, and when you talked, it was enthralling, and you would tell us something. They would write something, and the teacher, it was all red marks, it was all crosses, and everyone else was getting like 10 out of 10, and you were just getting all
Right.
red marks. And then you literally wrote, "I don't understand what you mean," and she was like,
What you
and
want
what
from
you
me.
want
Like,
from me. And we started to cry, me and Terrence, because we are like, this kid is so frustrated. She's trying, and she spends more time on her homework than any of the other kids that don't even spend time on it, and she's struggling. And why is she struggling? Because she's smart. And one of the teachers earlier had said, "Oh, she's just same as they said to me. Oh, she's just not gonna. That's just not her. She's just not
mhm.
academic."
Yeah.
And I was like, "I don't buy that." And my mom, your nanny, you were she used to hang her laundry out on the line in England, because we do that in England, and you would hold the paper bag, and you were little, and when you would talk to her and you would tell her stories, and she would come to me and go, "I don't care what those teachers say, that girl's a dynamo and she's really, really smart, and they need to find out." And sure enough, God bless us, we got a teacher that immediately picked up on it and got you the right
The
help
help I needed.
that you
Yeah.
needed, and then you
Mhm.
excelled at everything, and it was just like it fit. It just fit.
Mhm.
And I think
Yeah.
that people have to find their fit.
They do. And I had to find my pace because I didn't learn the traditional way. When you are
Yes.
dyslexic, you're typically right brain dominant,
Mm.
which just means like you're more visual and creative. You're like just your recognition of patterns and stuff is just different than someone
Mhm.
who's left brain
Mhm.
dominant, who's gonna like primarily typically excel in like mathematics and things like that. And if I had just believed that I just wasn't good at this, and I just believed it, and I remember I thought reading was cool. Like I was
Yes.
like, books are cool, reading is cool.
Yes.
And I was in the library at school and I went to check out a book because all my friends were reading. It was something like the Treehouse Club or something. It was a famous
Yes.
series of books when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And the librarian told me that I couldn't read this book because it wasn't in my lexitile or something like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
remember
Your
what that is.
Lexile. Your Lexile.
My lexile.
Mhm.
And she was like, "You can't read this book." And I was so embarrassed. Like, I was so embarrassed that I
That's a
had
terrible
found this book and
teacher
I was
or
excited.
terrible
I know.
librarian. I mean, that's the worst thing in the world for someone to say. Can't.
I
Take it
was
out of your
I
lexicon.
was I was like so embarrassed because I had found this book. I thought it was so cool. All my friends were reading it, so they were with me too. We were all checking out at the book counter, and then like the teacher told me I couldn't do it. And it was so like, and my friends witnessed that too, and I was just so embarrassed, and I didn't read probably until like college. Like
But
I
did
didn't
you see
read
what
as
that
a
did?
pastime.
That
Yeah.
one careless comment affected your life. And I
Yeah.
think that that's the freeing thing of being 40, 50, 60, 70 is those comments don't matter anymore, because those
Yeah.
people are either gone or didn't succeed, or God bless them, they may have done really good, but they're out of your life.
Mhm.
And what they
Yeah.
did is a careless comment stopped you. And I think that in
Yes.
education, we have to be really careful of what we put on people and
Yes.
what we tell, because when you're young, you're a sponge. You
Yes.
think my biggest
Of
shock in
course,
life
I'm
was
like the
finding,
librarian knows more
yeah,
about books than I
my
do. I'm not going to try to test
my
her,
biggest
you know?
shock in life was finding out that some adults aren't, they're not the ones you should be listening to. They're an adult. So I was always brought up, respect your elders, and you should
Mhm.
be polite and respect, but all wisdom that comes from them isn't exactly always right. You may want to check that
Yeah.
source sometimes. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And
Yeah.
what they said to you was debilitating, and it stopped you learning. And oh, it's infuriating me right now.
And it's to bring it full circle, when I tried and then I failed and I hit my dip, instead of seeing that that was part of a bigger process and a bigger like just my pace, I saw it as, oh, she's right, like
Yes,
this is what she meant, this is what Miss so and so meant in the
yes,
library, that I can't read this, like,
yes,
because like, and then you believe it as like almost like
yes,
scientific fact, and
yes,
it influences your self-efficacy and your projection of what you're capable of,
yes,
and
yes,
and yeah, and I just think that, yeah, that is just such a big example of that for me in my life, because now reading and writing, I read every single day, I read aloud every single day, because in my
yes,
job I have to read aloud,
yes.
and i
And
I
you
would have
learn so
never thought.
much. You learn so
Right.
much. Yeah,
Yeah.
I thank God, like, my environment that I grew up, like I said, my dad came more from educators, my mom came more from street and and like school of hard knocks and hard work. But basically, my grandmother, she used to say to me, like, her husband died young, just like my dad did. It's kind of in the family, and she had to bring up three boys, and the kind of stymied stuff that people told her, she had to say, "No, I've got to be the mom and the dad now. I've got to be able to
Mhm.
do this." And so she would say to me as a little girl, we would go to West Park and we would feed the dogs, and she'd say, "Don't ever let anybody tell you you can't do something." And she says,
Mhm.
"If they tell you you can't do it, go do it to prove them wrong." So sometimes I did things to spite people, which is not probably the best motivator, but it was like,
Which is also like, we're
my
living
nan
for
said I
others
can do
still.
it. Yeah, still living for others,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I had a lot of people say, "Oh, you can't do that as a woman." I
Mhm.
still get that in this day and age.
Yeah.
I like in business, nobody looks at me as one of the, and yet I'm like a 50% owner in the business, and I still
Mhm.
have people that just totally disregard me when we walk in and go straight to Terrence. But it takes a while, and
Right.
then I'm like, I've got to prove myself, but no. And
Yeah.
then whoever dismisses you, that's their failing, not yours.
Yeah,
That's
it
their
is.
failing.
And add the layers to that of like being a woman, or
Oh
being a
gosh,
woman of
yes.
color, or
Yes.
being a woman of color who is gay, or being a
Yes.
woman who is
Gosh,
gay,
yes.
or be like, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
so
the
many
the
things.
layers to
Yeah.
that of
It's
just like,
crazy.
if you believe what people project onto you, you're never going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, you have to believe in yourself, and you have to know that like whatever spark you have inside is there, and you moving at your own perfect pace will bring it out,
Yes.
you
Shed that
know?
skin. Shed that skin.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You
Exactly.
can't let people tell you what you can and can't do within law and legality. And I'm just full
Right, right,
disclaimer. You
right, right,
can't go
right.
shoot people. That's not a good thing. That's a bad thing.
Right.
But like if you want to express yourself and you
If
want
it's
to
in
write
your heart.
and it's in your heart and you're contributing to yourself and society and maybe
Mhm.
just contributing to yourself right now. My guitar is for me and me alone. I'm not going to go
Yeah.
on the stage and be Janis Joplin. I wish I was, but it's
But
never
you
going to
know how
happen.
it's contributing to society?
How?
Exactly what you said at the beginning of this episode is, after you play the guitar, you're singing your tune on your way to work.
I'm as
You're that
happy as
much
can be.
nicer.
Yes.
You're like, let's say there's a car that cuts you off, you're rolling it by. You're
Yeah.
not going to
Yeah.
drive past them and give them the finger and get
Exactly.
into a fight with them, and
Exactly.
you're in line at the store and maybe you let someone skip you because they're in a rush and you're
Yep.
not. Like, it ripples. It
It
ripples in
does.
the smallest of
It
ways,
does.
you
And
know?
like I'm more productive at work. I'm happier at work. I'm kinder to people at work because my vibrations are lifted and I feel good
Yeah.
and yeah,
You
and
did something for you also,
yes.
and filling up your
Yes.
own cup
Yep.
gives you the ability to have more for
Yep.
others. But
Yep.
also, I really am a firm believer that if something is in your heart, it is already existing somewhere. You
Yes.
just need to find your way to it.
Yes.
But if it's in your heart, like
You
if you
will
have the
find
heart
it.
of it, and I remember when I got injured with dancing and I had a debilitating injury that like even doctors were like,
Significant.
this is a
Yes.
significant injury. Like, you could come
Yes.
back from this, but like it's not,
Yeah.
you're going to have to work every single day at it for the rest
Yes.
of your life. You
Yes.
will always work on this.
Hmm.
And I just remember, even in the darkest of those times, I knew my pace. And I remember saying to people, I know I will dance again
Yes.
because dancing is in my heart. And if
That's
it's in
my
my
gift.
heart, then it's, if it's in my heart, then it's already, I have the heart of a dancer, and you can
Yes.
never take
You
that
can't
from me.
take
You
that
can
away.
take my legs, you could take whatever.
The music, the rhythm, like I remember as a little girl when you were dancing, one of the teachers, actually is a lady that passed away now, but she actually looked at me and she said, she feels it. It's like part of her. It's part of who she is. It's like an arm or an extension to yourself.
That's how
and
Jess is too,
to
my little
cut
sister.
it, yes, exactly. But to cut it off and to say you can't do that, that's not acceptable. I
No,
mean,
it's not.
you know, within the physical bounds, and you had serious injuries, not once, not twice, 3 times, right?
Yeah.
Three
Yeah,
times.
3
I mean,
times. Yeah.
but look at you. Look at you now.
Yeah. Yeah, I dance every single day. But yeah, thank you so much for talking with me about this. Rudy is back. He started with us. He
He was
explored
with
the
me.
entire
He's been
house.
sitting on my feet
Did
the
he go to you?
last
Oh
year.
yeah, the tea is that me and my mom are literally in the same house right now, but I just
Yes.
can't figure out how to record in person with someone yet
Yes.
because the equipment, like, we just don't have the finances for it yet.
Yes.
But one day we will.
We
One
will.
day, I don't know. Maybe if someone like
Christmas
wants to
list.
sponsor me or
Christmas
something. Oh,
list.
Christmas list. I guess that too. I guess I could ask for Christmas. But anyway, I want to say thank you so much for doing this and agreeing to come on the episode and sharing your wisdom and your heart and
Oh,
your
I loved it.
journey and so many personal things for you that shaped you and changed you as a person and that probably wrecked you and also healed you and grew you. So
Yes.
thank you for sharing that because that was so brave and bold and you are so magnificent
Don't
to
make me
be
cry.
trying to be trying new things at any stage of your life, but especially in a stage of your life when people tell you you can't.
Yes.
You know, and it's like
Yes.
I'm not I feel like I can't be proud because pride is ownership. Like it's like I didn't do anything. I didn't contribute to this. This was all you. But I'm just so honored to be your daughter and
Oh,
I'm
now you're
honored to
gonna make
be
me
in
cry.
relation to
You're
you.
gonna have to edit this
Okay.
to that, okay? It's been a
Okay.
pleasure, and I'm so proud of you. Now you're making me cry. No. This is
I love
embarrassing.
you so much.
I
Do you
love
have
you so
any
much too.
final thoughts you want to say?
Just
Rudy, do you want to say anything?
just continue to do your thing and continue to grow. And I'm so proud of you. And you can do anything you want because you have the ability.
And mom is your mom too. She's telling you right now, you can do anything that you want.
The dog's just is
You are
coming.
so loved. You are so capable. Oh, mom started crying, so the dog started barking because she doesn't like when mom cries. But
Please don't show
all
this
right,
on TV.
even if you don't have, a support system, you think you don't have a support system or you haven't been shown that, there are people who love you. We love
Yes.
you. We want
Yes.
you to do well. We want you to succeed. We're telling you you can do it. We're telling you when you get into that dip, there is a flow coming and you have to keep writing it. And if it's in your heart, it's in your reality. You
Listen
just
to
need
your
to find your way
voice.
to it.
Listen to your voice,
Exactly.
your inner voice. You know.
Yeah,
I love you
exactly.
so
Okay.
much.
I
I'm
love
so proud of you.
And I
And we
love you,
finally did
pod
this.
listeners.
Yes, we
Yes,
finally
we
did
did.
it.
Finally. Yay. Okay.
Yes.
I love you, pod listeners. I will see you next week. I hope you enjoyed this episode and I hope you have a gorgeous day.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.